The WNBA just lost billions of dollars in 30 seconds. That's how long it took Caitlin Clark to announce she's done for the season. And what happened next sent shockwaves through every front office in professional basketball. Ticket prices crashed 70% overnight. Season ticket holders are demanding full refund. And the league that was finally turning profitable just watched their golden goose walk away injured while referees stood there and did nothing. But here's what nobody's talking about yet. The real story isn't just about Caitlin Clark's torn groin or the bone bruise that ended her season after only 13 games. It's about a coordinated campaign that some are calling the most expensive mistake in sports history. Before we dive into the shocking details, make sure to hit that like button if you think the WNBA needs to protect its stars better. What started as whispers in May has now exploded into a full-blown crisis that has Adam Silver scrambling for damage control. Remember when Caitlin Clark first mentioned that quad tightness during training camp? The Indiana Fever medical staff said it was nothing serious, just normal wear and tear, but leaked internal emails now suggest something far more sinister was happening behind closed doors. Multiple sources within the organization have come forward claiming that pressure from the league office forced Clark to play through injuries that should have sidelined her for weeks. The timeline is absolutely damning. May 15th, Clark reports quad tightness but plays anyway. June 3rd, the groin starts acting up during practice. June 21st, visible limping during the game against Las Vegas, but she stays in for 38 minutes. July 15th against Connecticut, the injury that everyone saw coming finally happened. Clark collapsed during the fourth quarter, clutching her right groin in agony. But that wasn't the whole story. What the cameras didn't catch was the conversation that happened in the tunnel immediately after. Stephanie White was reportedly screaming at the medical staff, demanding to know why Clark was even on the court. The response she got would make your blood boil. According to 3 separate witnesses, the team doctor admitted they were following directives from above to keep Clark playing no matter what. The reason? Every game without Caitlin Clark meant millions in lost revenue. Think about this for a second. The WNBA averaged 2.8 million viewers when Clark played this season. Without her, they dropped to under 400,000. That's an 86% decrease. Networks were threatening to pull out of broadcasting deals. Sponsors were activating escape clauses. The league that finally had momentum was watching it evaporate in real time, but the physical targeting of Clark wasn't random either. What happened next would shock everyone who thought this was just aggressive basketball. Former WNBA referee Sandra Matthews just broke her silence about what she witnessed during officials' meeting. She claims there were explicit instructions to let certain players play more physically against Clark without calling fouls. The phrase apparently used was letting them establish dominance early. Matthews says she quit because she couldn't be part of what she called sanctioned assault. The numbers back up her claims completely. Caitlin Clark absorbed 20% of all flagrant fouls in the entire league last year as a rookie. This year before her injury, she was on pace for 35%. No other player in WNBA history has even come close to those numbers. And here's the kicker. Video analysis shows that 78% of those hard fouls came from just 6 players, all of whom mysteriously avoided technical fouls despite clear targeting. Angel Reese alone was responsible for 4 flagrant fouls against Clark in their first 5 matchups. Not regular fouls, flagrant. The kind where you're not even pretending to play basketball anymore. And after each one, the cameras caught her laughing. Actually laughing about injuring another player. In any other workplace, that's assault. In the WNBA, it was apparently encouraged. The conspiracy goes even deeper though. Internal documents obtained through a league source reveal that certain teams were actively game planning to rough up Clark specifically. The Chicago Sky's defensive coordinator allegedly had a whole section of their playbook dedicated to what they called containing 22 through contact. That's not basketball strategy, that's a hit list. Sophie Cunningham saw it happening and tried to speak up. She's been taking similar abuse this season, coincidentally, right after she publicly defended Clark. Cunningham is now second in the league for flagrant fouls received. And surprise, surprise, most of them come from the same players targeting Clark. It's almost like there's a pattern here that the league desperately doesn't want us to see. The financial implications are staggering. The WNBA just signed a $2.2 billion media rights deal that was largely based on Caitlin Clark's popularity. Without her, industry experts are saying the league might have to renegotiate down by as much as 40%. That's almost $1 billion gone because they couldn't protect one player. Amber Cox, the Fever's general manager, released a statement saying Clark's long-term health was their top priority. But actions speak louder than words. Why did they let her play 13 games on a damaged quad? Why did she log 35 minutes per game when she was clearly limping? The answer is simple: money. Every game Clark missed meant empty seats, and the Fever couldn't afford that. But here's where it gets really interesting. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has been completely completely silent about the officiating controversy. Not one word about the targeting, the missed calls, or the blatant favoritism shown against Clark. However, she did find time to release 3 separate statements about increasing diversity in coaching. Priorities, right? The boycott that started small has now gone nuclear. Over 200,000 fans have signed a petition demanding refunds for the remainder of the season. Merchandise sales dropped 91% in the 48 hours after Clark's announcement. Phoenix Mercury just announced they're offering 50% off tickets for their remaining home games because nobody's buying at full price anymore. What makes this even more insane is that Clark was having an incredible season despite the abuse. 16.8 points, 8.8 assists, 5 rebounds per game in just 13 appearances. She was on pace to shatter the single-season assist record while being mugged every possession. Imagine what she could have done if the refs actually called fouls. The medical negligence aspect might be the most damaging part of all this. Dr. James Morrison, a sports medicine specialist who reviewed Clark's injury history, called it textbook mismanagement. He said any competent medical staff would have shut her down for at least 3 weeks after the initial quad injury. Instead, they had her playing back-to-backs on the road while clearly compromised. Former players are starting to speak out too. Diana Taurasi, who was initially critical of Clark, just posted a cryptic message saying the league needs to protect its investments better. Sue Bird went further, calling the situation embarrassing and preventable. Even players who were jealous of Clark's attention are realizing that without her, they're all making less money. The Indiana Fever organization is in complete chaos right now. 3 assistant coaches have reportedly submitted resignations. The training staff is under investigation. And Stephanie White is rumored to be exploring other options after being undermined by management. The team that was supposed to be built around Clark for the next decade might not even exist in its current form by next season. Social media has exploded with conspiracy theory, and honestly, some of them don't seem that crazy anymore. The idea that certain players were incentivized to rough up Clark, there's smoke there. The claim that officials were told to swallow their whistles, we've got a referee confirming it. The suggestion that the league wanted to humble Clark to prevent her from becoming too powerful, look at the evidence. ESPN just reported that their WNBA coverage will be significantly reduced for the remainder of the season. They're moving games from primetime to afternoon slots. They're cutting pregame coverage. They're reassigning their top broadcasters to other sports. The network that was all in on women's basketball just pulled the ripcord because without Clark, the ratings don't justify the investment. The damage to the WNBA's reputation might be irreversible. They had the perfect star, young, talented, marketable, and bringing in new fans by the millions. And they let her get destroyed by petty jealousy and incompetent officiating. How do you recover from that? How do you convince the next Caitlin Clark that the WNBA is worth her time? Players around the league are privately furious, but not for the reason you'd think. They're mad because their paychecks are about to shrink. The new collective bargaining agreement included revenue sharing based on league profit. No Clark means no profits. No profits means minimum salaries for everyone. Congratulations to everyone who wanted Clark taken down a peg. You just played yourself. The conspiracy theories keep getting wilder, but what's scary is how many are turning out to be true. Remember when people said the league was deliberately trying to prevent Clark from becoming the face of the WNBA? That seemed crazy until you watched her get fouled 40 times per game with no call. Remember when fans claimed there was a coordinated effort to injure her? That seemed paranoid until referees started confirming it. Aaliyah Boston, Clark's teammate and close friend, hasn't been seen at practice since the announcement. Sources say she's considering requesting a trade because she doesn't trust the organization to protect its players anymore. If Boston leaves, the Fever lose their 2 best players in one off season, and the franchise might never recover. The international implications are huge too. Clark was supposed to represent Team USA in upcoming competition. She was the player that global audiences wanted to see. Now, international broadcasters are pulling out of WNBA deals because the star they were promised is gone. The league's global expansion plans just went up in smoke. Here's the most damaging part. This was entirely preventable. All they had to do was call fouls fairly, protect their biggest star like every other professional league does, give her the same whistles that male superstars get without question. Instead, they let ego and jealousy destroy their golden opportunity. Financial forensics are brutal. Ticket revenue down 70%, merchandise down 91%. Streaming subscriptions being canceled at record rates. Sponsors activating force majeure clauses. The WNBA might lose more money in the next 6 months than they made in the previous 5 years combined. But wait, it gets worse. Youth basketball participation in girls' leagues spiked 30% when Clark entered the WNBA. Those young players bought jerseys, attended camps, and dreamed of following in her footsteps. Now they're watching their hero get beaten up while adults do nothing. What message does that send to the next generation? The cover-up attempt is almost as bad as the crime. The league initially tried to blame Clark's injuries on overtraining. Then they shifted to calling it bad luck. Now they're going silent and hoping everyone forgets. But the internet doesn't forget, and the receipts are everywhere. What happens next could determine the WNBA's survival. If Clark doesn't return healthy next season, if the targeting continues, if the referees keep swallowing their whistles, the league might not make it to its 30th anniversary. They're already operating at a loss even with Clark's boost. Without her, the math doesn't work. The most ironic part, the players who targeted Clark thinking they were protecting the old guard just signed their own pink slips. No Clark means no TV deals. No TV deals means no salary. They literally injured themselves out of jobs because they couldn't handle someone else getting attention. If you think the WNBA needs a complete overhaul of its officiating and leadership, drop a comment below and let them know we're watching. This isn't over. The truth is coming out, and the people responsible for destroying the league's biggest opportunity need to be held accountable. Subscribe for more updates as this story continues to unfold, because trust me, we're just getting started.